Welcome to TMZ Live. If the defense in the Diddy case gets its way, Diddy could be a free man next month, because they have filed a massive document basically setting out their position. And their position is that what he was convicted of amounts to nothing more really than an orgy.
Orgies.
Orgies.
Yes, that he had orgies. Big deal. Is kind of the tone of the documents that they filed, and they, make their case for him. If you're going to convict him, that this should be a very lenient sentence.
So what they're asking for is this. They are saying, look, he was found not guilty on all the serious charges: racketeering, fraud, force, coercion, rape, all of those found not guilty. He wasn't charged with rape, but it was part of the force issue. The only thing he's left with is the Mann Act, which is taking a prostitute across state lines and paying them for sex. What they're saying is, what that is worth is 14 months in prison and then supervised release for some period thereafter.
Now, we should say that this is what they are, right. Diddy's team is suggesting to the judge. The prosecutors are on the far other end of the spectrum, where they're saying he should get somewhere between 4 to 5 years. That would, I'm sure, include time served. Again, he's been in for a year now.
I got to say,
that would be
that would be throwing the book at him for a Mann Act violation.
Yeah.
If he gets 14 months, if the defense gets what they want, he'd essentially get out October 3rd, because
he's been in for
13
a year, months.
And you get 15% credit for time served. So he'd basically be out after the sentence, and then he'd be on supervised release.
Right.
So there's something more, though, and that is whether or not he should be sentenced at all.
Yeah, there's this side battle that's going on where they want to throw out the 2 Mann Act convictions. They've won, and they're sort of trying to spike the football and say those Mann Act convictions should be thrown out as well, because all Diddy did was he never actually hired the prostitutes for the purposes of having sex himself. What he did was hire prostitutes, bring them across state lines. He said they said on the stand, the prostitutes, it was for our company, but even if you believe they came for sex, it wasn't for sex with him. He's saying he was the amateur pornographer, he was the voyeur, but the sex was going on between Cassie or Jane and the prostitute. Now, this is a pretty clever argument. I think it's a little too clever, to be honest with you, because
they've made that before.
They have.
Well, there's going to be
but that is, he's right, that is the classic Mann Act, is where you bring a prostitute across state lines for your own purposes.
Yeah, listen, it's an old statute. It's about going out on your wife.
For his purposes, like, I get it. He didn't physically have sex with the prostitutes.
But it's for his sexual gratification.
But it's for his sexual gratification.
I get it.
And who, whether he paid for their company or not, that's the oldest excuse in the book, to say I'm paid for my company and then I happen to have sex.
It's an uphill climb for them to do it.
Yeah.
Well, the judge is going to answer it later this week.
But the thing that the judge also has to consider, with the Mann Act, is there is a history to this. It is a racist law that was passed during Reconstruction to prevent black men from dating white women.
Famously.
And
Jack Johnson.
Jack Johnson, the boxer, was prosecuted, the black boxer.
Chuck Berry.
Chuck Berry was prosecuted.
He's also black.
And who was black? I kind of
yes, I know. We assumed that they knew.
There was a fear of black men taking white women across state lines.
But, Johnny Cochran in the O.J. Simpson case famously...
was also black.
Also black.
Not prosecuted under the Mann Act, though.
Said to the jury, race plays a part in everything. And they raised that issue. They raised that issue with Diddy.
But as far as this case is concerned, that ship has sailed.
I think
they made that argument at the beginning of the trial.
To your point, it preserves it for appeal. You can have these kind of academic arguments, and maybe that they want to have this sideshow go all the way up to the Supreme Court and really argue the Mann Act.
I don't know that it's a sideshow. Mark Agnifilo, who is the lead lawyer in the case, told us when we did our documentary.
And that was 7 months before the trial started.
And told the jury the exact same thing. What he said was, they looked at Diddy, they couldn't go after him for his business, they couldn't go after him for his taxes, so they did the last thing they could possibly do, which is to go into his bedroom. And it was a takedown, they said, of a successful black man. So he made this argument. And he won on all the major
charges. Argument now and get the charge thrown out.
You're right, but does the judge, is that in the judge's head? Is that in the judge's head?
So that he has a more lenient sentence.
That's right. Whether you look at it, through a prism of look at the history of this law and look at what we're left with.
Right.
Don't you think it's more likely the opposite is in the judge's head, that Diddy somehow convinced a jury through very successful lawyering to get the major charges thrown out, and I still want to punish him even though all I have is 2 minor offenses?
Oh, I hope the judge can't think that.
Yeah.
He shouldn't, but he's a human.
You want the judge to go like, oh, he just had great lawyers, so now I need to punish him?
The law is supposed to be dispassionate, but it is run by humans, and Harvey knows that as well as I do. That's why the jurors are human. They respond to evidence in certain ways, so do judges.
If the judge is looking for a pound of flesh, that could backfire for the judge if he wants to be on the appellate court.
Without question.
Hey guys, I'm Joy Daly from New York City, and I believe that Diddy has been sitting in prison behaving himself for over a year. And for the first time in 2 decades, he is clean as a whistle in terms of his sobriety. So I hope that Diddy learned his lesson and he doesn't make any more of these dangerous mistakes, because I believe this entire experience has changed his entire life, shook him to his core, his whole life flashed before his eyes. And I just can't wait to see the outcome of this trial.
Well, we will see. October 3rd is the sentencing, and that's, a week and a half away.
Yes, indeed.
So we will hear.